Season 2, Episode 1, The Road from HD backwards to SD. No, from SD forwards to HD. What I want to do is share with you a circuit that I've designed that should happily do the old standard definition video all the way up to the new HD video. There's one caveat, and the caveat is you're going to feed this circuit HDMI. Why, Rob? Because I've discovered that very few times can you get your hands on analog HD. I've got it. I've got an adapter for a camera, and I thought, oh, this is easy. And then I was like, nowhere did I find easily another source. But every HD camera has HDMI. Well, that ain't analog, is it? We got to get to analog. There is an inexpensive and very effective adapter that goes from digital to analog, made by Radio Shack. But we have to start with the idea of component video. Every video has horizontal and vertical timing. Horizontal going this way and vertical going that way. And you've got to sync those two things. You've got to have little pulses saying, I'm here at the beginning of the line and I'm here at the top of the field. So they're pulses. In the ancient world, the VGA connector on a computer had red, green, and blue for the different colors, but it had a horizontal and a vertical sync. And the sync pulses looked suspiciously like what they called TTL, transistor logic. And they looked like this, just a pulse. They went from 0 volts up to 5 volts, okay? Plus 0, no. And there was one for H, and then one for V. So that's all good. Now that's 2 pins, and pretty soon we got to start getting everything down to as few pins as possible, to 1 pin. So we're going to combine these guys. How do you do that? Well, I've got a what I think is a new, very cool way of describing how they mixed horizontal and vertical sync. Now, you may be wondering, why is he talking about sync? Well, HD and SD have sync. They both have sync, and they share some similarities and some weird-ass differences, one in particular. We'll get to that. So we want to combine H and V sync into one signal. And I came up with this idea of how to describe how it's done. Because what kind of happens is there are these H pulses coming along, and we got to keep the H guy going. If we don't keep H going, bad things can happen. There were old security cameras way back in the day, black and white security cameras. And when it came time for the vertical, they just shut off everything and went, It worked. But you'd notice there's this tearing at the top of the screen. It's like, whoa, whoa, because the horizontal oscillator would get lost out here. It's like, where am I? I don't know where I am. And then it would have to catch up again when the pulses start. Well, that's not very nice. So the first thing we got to do is figure a way to keep the horizontal pulses pulsing. How are we going to do that? Well, what we're going to do is play a trick with a duty cycle, where we're coming along, and we got our horizontal pulses, and we're going to make sure that these edges, these are the active edges, the falling edge, that they keep happening. So, okay, so there's an edge, and there's an edge, and there's an edge. Okay. But what we're going to do in the meantime, we're going to actually say, you know what? So we got our edges, and they keep going. So they keep going down and down and down. But then if we squint, we see, oh, look, there's something that looks kind of like a big old pulse. So here's my cool and groovy way of saying it. So imagine that the horizontal pulses, which happen quicker, are the high frequencies. Okay, they're like consonants. And the vertical is low frequencies. It goes slow. Oh, ee-oh. So imagine putting them together. And you'd go T, 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 do, 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 T, T, T. So you got your T's, and you got your O. You pick off the O, and you get vertical. What do you think? Clever? I thought it was clever. Anyway, get the idea. You have to, I guess you got to be an audio person to get the high frequency low. Okay. So anyway, that's how we're going to mix those together. Horizontal speeds up. Oh, and what? But let's see what happened when they went from standard definition to high definition. Because they did something really squirrely with the sync, and I'm going to try to explain why. It's like, I don't care why, Rob. Let me explain to you why. Back in the day, there was this whole question of where's the edge, and we're going to run into that in HD because it matters more. In the old standard def world, the edges were just beyond. Partly because the old TV sets had regulation that was so cruddy that you didn't want to see the edge. Just put it off stage because it's been going, so get it off stage. So, and the regulation of the TV set, it's like, it's bright, I got bigger, and it's darker, I got smaller. It's like, if you don't see the edges, you don't really notice that. Okay. But come along the way, we pretty start much caring about where the edge is because you got like pixels and stuff coming. And you want to see that first pixel. You want to see the very edge, and you want to know where the edge is. We're getting computer screens and such. So this is where they're going, where do we start? Where's exactly the edge? And you go, well, it's right here at the edge of sync. Well, here's the deal. Zoom way, way, way into here, and it's not falling down. Okay, not sharply. Why does that matter? Rob, why does that matter? Because we're going to slice it off. If you remember last season, we found out we could pick sync off with a comparator. Let's use red. We could put, those two signals into a comparator, and the output of the comparator, let's use blue, was the sync. All right, that's how we'd pick it off. Why is that not precise? Well, because of the fact that it's really something more like that edge. Don't worry, we'll pick it off in the middle. Yeah? Where's the middle? Well, we'll rest this video on our hand like we did a soft clamp, and we'll slice it. Yeah? What if the gain of the video is a little bit wrong? What are you going to do there? What if the clamp, pushing on that soft clamp, and the video goes really high and it pushes down a little more? Well, this guy is going to go on no color green. He's going to move back and forth. They're going to move back and forth, all those pulses. And they're going to change where they go back and forth, and so the edge of the video is going to go back and forth. What are we going to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this new tri-level sync. Tri-level sync. What's going on here? Well, let's draw some. Good old horizontal sync. We'll just forget for a minute that those aren't sharp. Good old horizontal sync is like that. And this falling edge was it. The leading edge of sync. Boom, that's your horizontal, that's your reset. That's when the TV screen's gonna go back. The old horizontal oscillators, that's it. And that was the one that moved back and forth. We need something more precise. What do? Well, we say, you know what, since we don't know we're gonna slice this dude, let's do something clever. Let's do this. And you say, why would you do that, Rob? Why would you make the rising edge the right edge? Well, they have a thing called zero crossing. And you know where zero is. Oh man, zero's there, roughly there. So gain can change, everything can change, and that edge is going to stay right where it is. That's the idea, crudely explained. So because I wanted to make a circuit that would do standard def or HD, SD or HD, I'm using a chip to do it. Say, Rob, why aren't you using comparators? There's one chip that makes a bunch of stuff for us. It's cheap and it's available. It's the LM1881. The nice thing about the LM1881 is we take our video, we go in, and some cool and groovy things come out. 3 in particular that are very useful for us. And the really nice thing about the LM1881 is it kind of doesn't care what you give it. It's very forgiving. I give it standard def, I give it HDef, stuff comes out. The stuff we care comes out. And what we come out with that we like is sync. And when I say sync, it's the mixed stuff, it's everything. Then we get vertical sync. Those are the 2 biggies. But later on, we're going to get also frame. We'll go into that later. That can be very useful. The LM1881 is the first chip in our circuit. And I think that's where we'll stop.